Well, it's a pleasure and thank you for joining us once again in this next episode. My name is Fred Makubya, and like we always dedicate ourselves to bring to you every information that relates to business. We have just concluded the presidential election and even other leaders across the different levels of life. During the presidential election, internet was off, and so many scholars have come out to give their own opinion. Why? And how it did affect them. But now back to the business community. We are here to discuss how internet did affect their day-to-day running of the business. Was it a right move? Anyway, how do government handle it? That and most terms are discussion. My guest this time around is Mr. Ongodia. Mr. Ongodia?
Yes, thank you. My name is Ayeko Ongodia. Thank you for having me on the program.
He is the CEO of Zeno Investment. What they do is another discussion. What does Zeno Investment do, first and foremost?
Thanks, Fred. Zeno simply helps you as an individual or your circle or your investment club or your group as employees to save, to plan, save and invest your money for a future financial goal, say retirement, a child's education, building a home. It essentially puts your savings to work for you. That's what we do.
Let's talk about technology. For the 14th, 15th, 16th, 18th, internet resumed on Monday after the presidential elections were concluded. From the business perspective, politicians have come out to give their political thinking of how things were. From the business perspective, what is your take?
Yeah, that was a dark period, really, for the country, for businesses as well. I don't know so much about the politics of the internet, but I do know one or two things about the business of the internet. The internet powers businesses right now in the 21st century. Without the internet, most businesses, I dare say nearly 80% of the businesses cannot function well. Why? One is the internet is really not only used as a store to store information, business information, personal information, consumer information, family information, all sorts of information, academic information, weather information, all sorts of information, like you said, but also used to transmit that information between place A and place B. Yeah? And increasingly, most businesses make use of the internet, however rudimentary form, even if it is to convey banana prices from Mbarara to Kampala via WhatsApp. That's still the internet, right? To take a picture of the size of a bunch of banana in order to estimate its price for the garden or for the farm that is producing them and conveyed via WhatsApp. That's the internet. Yeah? So that's how important the internet is for the person doing an informal job. This is how they're using it. Now go across to the slightly more formal sector. Banks, payment services, investment funds, supply chains across border trade is powered by the internet. Most banks save their information on cloud services or access their banking systems through cloud services without necessarily going physically into the bank. Of course, as a business continuity plan, some people will have in-house servers, but then your customers transact or connect to you through cloud service. So when you cut that off, you've cut really the lifeblood of business in the 21st century as we know it. So it has had a profound impact, not only on large banks, large financial institutions, telecom companies that have lost revenue, businesses, small businesses, small corner shops that have lost revenue because they can't connect with their customers, they can't connect with their suppliers, but also our way of life, interacting with my family, interacting with your family through and friends through WhatsApp groups has been affected. So this was really a dark period from a business perspective. I don't know about the politics, but from a business perspective, yes.
Let's expose the magnitude of the loss in terms of payments. You've talked about the revenue in terms of 360-degree loss in terms of the magnitude of the loss.
Yeah, I'm actually interested, and this I will probably defer to people to carry out a slightly more objective survey. For example, the Economic Policy Research Center at Makerere might be interested in this assignment. I haven't quantified the loss, but just imagine one is you could not think about, let's start with just the payment system. Yeah? Nearly 80% of our payments right now in the country are going through digital channels. It's no longer that you put on a suit, walk to your bank branch and deposit money. Okay. No? You're going through digital. You go to an app-initiated transaction. You go to the web and initiate a transaction from your, or you go to a mobile bank agent who uses their point of sale machine to do a bank transfer or to do a bank deposit to your bank. You give them that point of sale machine is using the internet. Okay. So if a country, if the business community cannot move money from their one pocket to the other, think about that 1 day loss. Yeah, think about it in terms of just 1 day.
And what does this 1 day mean generally?
Yeah. How much money moves through the economy? Just think through this. Yeah, we probably produce about $30 billion in GDP a year. I haven't done the math. Maybe somebody in the audience can quickly do the math. $30 billion in GDP a month. Yeah? So simple math is divide that $30 billion by 365 days.
In a year.
In a year. Yeah? To get the value that is created by Ugandans collectively in a day. Right? So but that value created in a day uses a payments infrastructure that had been decapitated. So a significant fraction of those payments, or a significant fraction of that value. This is how I would start to quantify. Yeah? Roughly. Again, it's not very precise, but this is how a method I would use to quantify. Yeah? A significant number of that value was not created because there was no way of transferring money from point A to point B. Think about it, and then multiply it by the number of days for which that payment infrastructure was down. That's a rough idea of the magnitude, or at least that's where you begin to think about it. I won't put the numbers to it right now, but just think about that.
Are you literally saying even the banks didn't operate?
Not all channels operated. Yeah? So a bank might have its internal system. Its employees can go to and transact. But banks depend on consumers, right? If a consumer cannot connect, right now we connect, I do all my business. Yes. And most people do all their businesses digitally. Yeah? If they can't connect. The only payment channel that was working throughout the lockdown was mobile money. And that actually, in a sense, might have saved the economy. So because, but mobile money only moves a very small fraction, yeah, in terms of value, yeah. In terms of volume, there are many transactions, but in terms of like real huge transactions, no. Yeah, it moves a very small fraction.
Is technology this important that it can cripple a nation to that extent?
Technology is very important. Actually, there's a saying by one of the pioneers of the web browser, I think one of the creators of Mozilla Firefox. Was it Mozilla Firefox or Mosaic? Before Internet Explorer came, software is eating the world. Yeah? Software drives the world. Right now, we're using technology to communicate. This information that we are sharing, to the two of us, we're going to use it. We're going to use technology to convey it to a much wider audience who will find it useful to inform their business decision, their business direction, their family decisions as well, and their life decisions as well. So technology is very, very important, that if you cripple access to it, you're crippling the nation's ability to create value within that specified period of time within which you've crippled the access to the internet.
Did the specialists like you probably have a plan B? Because what qualifies one to be a consultant is you are able to think beyond what others do.
Yeah, so I would speak in terms of us, Zeno. So again, let me just give context here so that the audience has a sense of what that plan B was. So Zeno is an investment firm. It helps the ordinary person to plan, save, and invest their money for any financial goal. So you set up an account primarily using two channels. One, you set up an account using the web. You go to www.myzeno.com, that's myxeno.com, and then you set up an investment account. They will ask you, okay, what's your name, what's your goal, how long do you want to invest for, and then you go through the process of setting up an account. The other way, the plan B, which we used as plan B, is instead of using the web, because now the internet access was cut off, use USSD.
Okay.
Right? So instead of going to our website, myzeno.com, you go to MTN for people, and we're only currently present on the MTN network. Go to MTN *165 *4 #4 and you put merchant code Zeno and then use. So we have had two executions. One is primarily web-based and dependent on the internet, but the second one is dependent on the mobile money infrastructure. So as a technology company, this second part actually saved our internet blackout period. We continued receiving deposits from our customers, and customers still continued to interact with us via USSD. So that's what saved us. But other businesses maybe did not have the benefit of that sort of plan B, because they'd never in their lives imagined that a nation would shut down the internet, the lifeblood business.
I've personally had a discussion with some people who said it was right. Young people spend a lot of their time on social media. And the time they spend on internet and a few other media platforms spoil their time.
On average, how old was this person, or were these people telling you this?
Below the age of 20.
No. I mean, the person was saying many people are spending a lot of their time on the internet.
The adolescents.
The adolescents. So one.
Anyway, I don't know what's your take on such an assertion.
They probably don't understand the power of the internet. They haven't power of the internet or power of technology. They haven't fully grasped how important it is to solve everyday problems and how it solves it a lot more efficiently than a brick and mortar operation.
Do you have recommendation to offer, maybe to government, from the business perspective anyway?
The government, please don't shut down the internet again. It costs us GDP. Yeah, it costs a significant, it probably only half of the value that we could have created in such a day was created, and that impacts tax revenue that is going to pay for social services.
Okay.
Yeah, public services. It's going to that same tax revenue is going to that is lost is going to affect our ability to service the debts that the government is actually borrowing in order to finance this now that they have a shortage. So I don't think that is the correct way. There are other ways, maybe limit access to particular websites that you deem undesirable, or to particular apps. I think a slightly more targeted, judicious process of determining, okay, this site, that site, that site, that site can be taken off if you have to. I am no advocate of limiting internet access to technology, access to website. However you disagree with them, I'm no, but if you absolutely have to do it, there is a slightly more judicious way to do it than just a blanket blackout for the entire country.
like the way it was done. Well, Mr. Ngodia is an expert in the field of technology. That's why we've moved from wherever we've been to come and pick his insight, especially on the effect of internet, especially during the presidential election. But 2021 indeed has started. Much as it started with the political fire across the country, business still continues. And one of the things that makes each one of us wake up very early in the morning is to make money, so and later translate that money into translating our lives from one way to the other. Where should you invest your money? It's one of the fundamental questions people have always asked us as a business channel. That 2021 has started. Fred, where should I invest my money? Mr. Ngodia, the year has started with all the political dynamics. In case I have my money, it's one of the fundamental questions that has kept coming in. Where would one invest his money?
Yeah, so I'm going to make I'm going to narrow that down a little bit and make a certain assumption. So in case you have your money, that means you already have a source of money. You're just saying, okay, I have a...
But also speak to those who don't have.
Yeah, that's right.
We have two sections because address either way.
The reason why that in narrowing it down, or at least sort of delineating it down, is so that we're a little bit more specific, and certain things might only apply to one case and not necessarily to the other. Let's say you have some money, or you have a certain source of money. Either that source of money is your job or your business, right? You're able to generate some income. Get a salary, generate some income, pay for your rent, pay for your food, but you have a little left over, you need to put it to work, right? Or run a business and generate revenue. Part of that revenue is put back as working capital, but there's a little left over and you need to put it to work as well. So that's what I'm assuming that's what you're asking for. So where should you put this money to work? So the many ways to look at this. Okay, you might essentially put this money to work by investing it in another line of business, or in another line of production, or where you're going to actively get involved. Yeah?
And where are those areas, given the fact that COVID has touched?
Yeah, so fundamentally, there is still 45 million people in Uganda. Those 45 million people are going to consume goods.
Okay.
Yep.
Regardless whether it's COVID or not.
COVID or not, we're going to eat. We're going to need electricity. We're going to need border. We're going to need... the
fundamentals will continue.
We are going to need those. Yeah. So providing those goods and services in a convenient way. Now, I'm going to emphasize convenient, and that is very important to understand. So right now we are living in a world where most people want to access services conveniently.
Conveniently,
in a timely manner. Yeah. So nearly instantly. Yeah. So you order something, you want it delivered
to there you. And then.
Yeah. You want it delivered to you, right? So figuring out, for example, okay, most people in a certain area will consume a bunch of matoke, a bunch of whatever, but traditionally they've gone to the market. Yeah? Can you deliver that bunch of matoke to them without necessarily them going to the market, for example? Yeah? So just thinking about the people in Uganda are still going to consume the same goods, so slightly, but relatively the same basket of goods. Yeah? But now they're going to want to consume those goods a bit more conveniently than they have done in the past, and in a slightly more timely manner. So you can still deal with the same, but the delivery channels change. So instead of setting up a market stall in Nakawa Market,
for people to drive from
wherever,
it's a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, get all that, and that market stall will be maybe a 2 meter by 2 meter stall. Yeah, actually use your home, your garage. Yeah, but then access your customers through an app, for example. Yeah, you are more likely to serve a lot, and then advertise your service on Facebook, WhatsApp groups, for example. you're likely to reach a much bigger audience using that sequence and generate a lot more revenue than that. You're a tailor, yeah. For example, you're a tailor. So here I'm not going to give examples of new areas you can invest in. It's just thinking slightly different.
In other words, we already have the opportunities
the
on
opportunity,
board.
and the market is there.
Where is it? Where is it?
There are 45 million people, Fred Makubuya, in this country.
But not all the 45
no,
are in position to consume what you're saying.
Absolutely.
And the capacity to reach out to
the
them.
labor force is 18 million. Yeah, that's everyone above 15. Yeah, who can work. About 18 million. Yeah. Then we say, okay, not all the 18 million are employed. Maybe only half of that. Half of 18 million is 9 million people. Yes, 9 million people. And maybe not all the 9 million people are within the greater Kampala, maybe 2 million people. That's still a 2 million market opportunity. Yeah.
But the sources you seem to be directing us to, with the price fluctuations, especially in the price in the commodities you've talked about, matoke, to mention.
Yeah, there's matoke, but I was starting to say tailoring. Yeah.
So why invest in some of the things whose prices keep on fluctuating every morning?
So they're staple.
The price is unpredictable.
No, they're staple foods. Yeah. Makovia, in a week, I can bet my right arm, that you consume some matoke in a week, every week.
That's true.
There. So there's demand. There's already demand. Yeah. But that matoke, you either send you go and pick yourself, or send your wife, or send your help at home. Yeah. Suppose somebody says, you know what, pay me 500 shillings, a bit more. Yeah. Or 1,000 shillings.
So that
I'll bring it for you. Then you calculate the border that you use.
The time.
The time. You say an extra 5. That's an opportunity for that.
Let's
person.
just go for a very short break. Yeah. When we come back, we'll continue making sense of where should I put my money, just in case I have the money. But in case I don't have the money, still what else can I do? That and more after the break.